Kagurabachi is already creating some hype on the internet, and there's no doubt it's going to be the next big thing, and here's why. From badass swordsman to a mysterious plot, here's what you should expect when reading and hopefully soon watching Kagurabachi. The first chapter wasn't anything special, but it definitely sets the pace for how the manga is going to run. It somewhat reminds me of Demon Slayer with a dash of Chainsaw Man. But it's a bit too early to say how good it is since there's only one chapter that's been published. I'm aware that we otakus love surprises in this genre, so the big question now is, what can we anticipate from this new manga series? A lot of fans praised the pilot chapter of the manga and even said that the main character is one of the series' best assets. It might also be the ideal time for Kagurabachi to shine and succeed like Jujutsu Kaisen, seeing as most modern anime and manga viewers prefer gloomy and action-packed stories. On September 18th, 2023, the action fantasy manga Kagurabachi made its debut. The manga tells the story of young Chihiro, who trains rigorously to forge katanas under the expert guidance of his swordsmith father, Kunishige, who formerly took part in the country's battle and saved innocent lives. So let's dive into it a bit deeper. What's interesting to note is that Chihiro and his dad have very different personalities, and it does make a unique and special dynamic, seeing as Chihiro is definitely more serious than his father. At this time, it becomes evident to us just how passionate Chihiro is when learning his father's craft, which was again swordsmithing, especially crafting powerful and one-of-a-kind swords. A turning point occurs when Shiba, an old friend of his father, arrives with a really wholesome gift, a goldfish. During his visit, he revealed that Chihiro's father not only excelled in swordsmithing, but also played a pivotal role in a war that took place 15 years ago, which weirdly coincides with Chihiro's age. At this moment, Chihiro's father gives him a lesson on the importance of the swords that they're forging. Fast forward 3 years, tragedy strikes, and things change for the worse as crime and violence devour the city. People rise in protest against a formidable crime syndicate known as the Kurogumi. They are famous for being ruthless and dominating the streets through violence and stealing the land's wealth. They even went as far as executing members of the Liberation Army who were fighting against them. For a reason we don't know yet, Chihiro, who now has a badass scar, sets off to exact revenge on a shadowy group with his father's friend, Shiba. He takes out an entire warehouse full of bad guys, and with one swing of his sword, it looks like he has the last blade that has magic imbued within it. Suddenly, as Shiba opens the door, every last one of his enemies is dead. The real question to this is, will he be able to bring down the organization using only his power and sword? The story opened as a wholesome narrative about a father and son relationship, but around halfway through, it took an unexpected turn that surprised some readers and increased their anticipation for the next chapters. From the manga panels, you would have not expected the next scenes to become as crazy as it was. It suddenly turned violent, and Kagurabachi instantly changed into a fantasy manga set in an era where modernity and culture lived harmoniously. Suddenly, Kagurabachi is being dubbed the next big thing, and Shonen Jump even put out a trailer to promote the series before the first chapter was published. The dark trio of Shonen Jump titles, 3 extremely violent series that include Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise, and Jujutsu Kaisen, look like they have some competition coming their way. So, is Kagurabachi just a transitory craze that became so famous because of social media and the virality that comes with it? This is one thing that happens to confuse both fans and critics because while it is undeniable that TikTok, Shorts, and other short-form video platforms helped in making Kagurabachi look as hype as it is, it's kinda important to go further beyond the surface. And that's exactly what we're doing! Now, let's talk a bit more about the protagonist, Chihiro Rokuhira. Unlike MCs like Deku or Ichigo, who seem to be one-dimensional and make their fight scenes do all the work, Chihiro is actually complicated, dark, and multi-layered. You feel like he's actually willing to do anything to get his revenge, and you can't help but be drawn in by his complex character. When comparing him to some other weekly Shonen Jump protagonist, he's a breath of fresh air, except for Denji because that guy's a maniac and through and through. Even though he is considerably darker than, for example, Sakamoto from Sakamoto Days, he nonetheless upholds the same sense of justice for safeguarding those who are vulnerable. His striking appearance with his dark cloak and gloomy eyes with his katana in his hand just seems more appealing even if he's just walking around. It seems as though Hakazono-sensei made sure that Chihiro isn't a character that can easily be compared to others, and he did a good job. Although not the best, his character design isn't cliché. Overall, I think it complements his persona extremely well and heightens his badass presence, especially when he's about to fight. But who's the one that made up all these amazing and unique ideas anyway? Well, Takeru Hokazono is the manga artist and creator of the Kagurabachi series. After having his try at writing a few one-shots, he finally achieved some success with Kagurabachi. Takeru Hokazono has been developing his reputation over the past few years quietly and steadily. His incredible career began in 2020 when he won the 100th Tezuka Manga Award for Enten, a single-issue work, and was published as a result of this accomplishment in the spring of 2021. And surprisingly, if you look at Chapter 1 of Kagurabachi, Chihiro says an incantation called Enten, which is a nice little Easter egg. Following that success, Hokazono blessed Weekly Shonen Jump with another one-shot titled Arogiwa Diamu in April 2022, with yet another, more well-known one-shot titled Roku no Meyaku in issues number 35 to 36 of the same magazine. He later captured the attention of a larger audience. After a year, Hokazono finally hit the target as efforts weren't in vain when Kagurabachi became his first serialized manga as an author. So, what do I really think about Kagurabachi overall? Well, if you enjoy this type of anime genre, I urge you to watch this violent and action-packed series. It does have that lightheartedness like Sakamoto Days, but it also has that eerie atmosphere whenever a fight is about to break out or some horrific violence is going to be committed. There's also a bit of mystery as to how magic mixes in with the world they live in. This first chapter's backdrop artwork was at times surprisingly eye-popping and incredibly detailed, especially surrounding his father's blacksmith shop, and the art style and aesthetic are top tier for me. It does seem a bit of a mix of Kaiju number 8 and Spy Family, but it's done great so far in enhancing the overall experience when we read the manga. I like how clean it is at other times, while it becomes more detailed when it becomes necessary. But most of all, what I think is the best thing that this manga has to offer is the action and world building. The way they made it as if the attacks in Demon Slayer were actually real is pretty awesome. Not to mention, magic can't only be focused in swords, but other people, like the mysterious sorcerer we saw in Chapter 1, can actually use it without a medium. There's also the fact that Chihiro just shows no mercy at all and just wants that smoke. The way it combines good art with swordsmithing, a little bit of subtle humor in the dialogue, and the concept of a revenge-driven drama makes it feel like the series has a whole lot of potential. But one criticism that others have pointed out that we have to address is that to them, it seemed like Chihiro isn't particularly interesting. However, it may be because of Takeru Hokazono's style, where most of his characters, even in other manga, usually have blank facial expressions. Some even say he looks like a cross between Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto and Aki from Chainsaw Man. But again, we're only bashing everything we're saying on just one chapter, and the real test will come when more chapters are released. Will Kagurabachi continue to gain traction and fulfill the promise of its unique premise? Only the future will tell. So that concludes our things to expect from the newly released manga Kagurabachi. We've covered everything from its promising premise to the intriguing characters and the stunning artwork. So, as we eagerly await more chapters and the potential anime adaptation, be sure to keep an eye on it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you'll be updated on our latest videos. See you next time.